Hello, everyone. I am here today to deliver a brief lecture on the topic Caliban upon Setebos, written by Robert Browning. I'll share my screen for a PPT. So, this poem was written by Robert Browning, and the nature of this poem is a dramatic monologue. He wrote this in the year 1864, and today I will give you a critical interpretation of this poem. So Browning takes on the third person initially. So he is giving a view of Caliban from the outside, from the exterior. And while giving voice to Caliban in third person, he is also allowing Caliban to view himself, to evaluate himself, to attain individuation, to attain self-awareness, and to attain individual agency. So when Caliban is, observing him from an exterior position, he is actually having the agency to self analyze himself. He switches on the first person when he is excited or indignant. So when Caliban is talking about the miseries, about his own identity, about the torments that he has gone through, he takes on the first person narrative. So the main, narrative style, the agenda for Browning to choose third person and then first person narration is to let Caliban observe and evaluate himself. The next point is voice of rebellion in Caliban. So we get to see that Caliban is not a mute, not a mute endurer. He is having a voice of rebellion, a voice of protest against Prospero and also against the imaginative creator whom he has named as Setebos. So he is not silenced, although his body is dominated, controlled by Prospero, but his mind is not yet dominated. He is getting inside a cave and venting about Prospero and talking against Setebos and showing the differences between himself and Setebos. But we get to see that rebellious side of Caliban. Now, I will give you a brief understanding about the social environment when Browning wrote this poem, because we always have to analyze texts by placing it in the socio-historical, socio-cultural framework. To understand the text better, we need to understand the times of that society. We need to understand the characteristics of that society, because all the artworks are driven by social influences. So at that time, there is this manuscript written by Charles Darwin. The Voyage of Beagle was published in 1839. Then it was the era of Victorian sentimentalism. So Victorian sentimentalism grappled the society. Okay, they're the sentiment, the emotions that hit your sentiment, that hit your consciousness, that criticize society, the distinctions between rich and poor, class distinction, and the social injustice, the social prejudices are revealed in the Victorian era through Victorian sentimental works, novels. So in the Voyage of the Beagle, Charles Darwin, shows that how he encounters the natives of different islands, and he talks about his experiences to different islands, experiences of voyages to different islands. So now we can understand that going out on expeditions to islands and we get to see here in the Caliban upon Setebos that how Browning is talking about Caliban from a sentimental perspective. He has given a voice to Caliban, but that is the voice of protest. That is the voice of criticism. Caliban is criticizing the society that has been unjust to him, and he is quite powerful, but yet dominated by the punishments of Prospero. So Prospero wanted to discipline Caliban, but he is unable to discipline him. That's why he kept giving him punishments. Okay, you can correlate it with Michael Foucault's notion of discipline and punish, thesis of discipline and punish. You can always refer to it, and for having a critical observation. So, you know, uh, now coming back to the Victorian sentimentalism, so there are Victorian novels by Lawrence Sterne, then Matthew Arnold, and let's say Oscar Wilde, Charles Dickens. They criticized the social injustice. They criticized the distinctions between people, and they criticized artificiality. They criticized how people lust for power. Okay, and at the end, how the poor or the ones who are being dominated get justice. In most of the Charles Dickens novels, you will see that there is a change of heart, there is a change of thought. Okay, so in Victorian era, sentimental novels connected or portrayed the innermost desires, the mental turmoil, the emotional turmoil, the downtrodden society underwent. Okay, the society that used to be usurped, that used to be dominated by the rich or elite people. Okay. Next, yes, then antithesis between Setebos and quiet. So through Caliban, Browning is also pointing out to a distinction between Setebos and quiet. They are antithesis to each other, opposites to each other. Okay, so quiet is the god or the creator that has created Setebos. But quiet has no emotions, no understanding. It just creates without any reason. But Setebos is a creator who is purely made out of evil. He is made out of ill at ease. He is made out of the coldness. Okay. And so there is a polarity between Caliban and Setebos as well. Setebos, without any reason, without any logic, he torments his creations. He torments those who he has created. But Caliban doesn't behave in this way. Caliban has ethics, has an ethical policy. He saves the bees, but kills the flies. Okay, but because bees, they toil, and flies, they irritate. So behind Caliban's every action, there is a logic. Next. Caliban disagrees with his mother, doesn't expect any afterlife, damnation, or salvation. So Caliban felt that his mother's opinion about afterlife and salvation is not true, or even damnation, because he feels that there is no reason or logic through which quiet operates, and Setebos just creates certain, certain elements, certain creations that he wants to torment. And he doesn't believe in an afterlife because this life is a lot painful for him, and he wants this pain to stop. And he doesn't believe having, having an afterlife after this life that Caliban is living, because he is done with all sorts of pain. He doesn't want to have any life any further. So this is a challenge to Christian theology, the theology that says, there are notions of damnation and salvation, but Setebos is not complying with such notions. So these are some of the important themes in Caliban upon Setebos. And another important dimension to Caliban upon Setebos is the post-colonial reading. So post-colonial interpretation talks about power relations between societies, between people. So what kind of power relation Caliban is having with Setebos or Prospero? If Caliban is having the voice of protest, for even if for a moment, he is having the agency to analyze himself, to analyze Setebos and Prospero. Okay, so on this note, I will end it here. Thank you so much.